I'm curious about how much the Dead Sea Scrolls inform the New Testament. How isolated was the Qumran community from general Judea? This is a great question. I'll go first. I think that we have to realize that the Qumran sect was not... now, there's multiple things that we have to look at. First of all, was the Qumran sect the Essenes? Scholarship is split on this. Let's pretend for a few seconds that it was the Essenes. I still think that they were not as accepted as a lot of the bigger groups. They might have been considered fringe. The Qumran sect certainly lived out in the desert. And
they might have had cells. I think it seems like they had cell groups throughout the land and maybe even in the diaspora, but they were all...
this morning, I said this to my father because we were talking about this beforehand. I said, it was kind of like, maybe it was kind of like the Hebrew roots movement is today to wider Christianity. You see, the evangelicals, they kind of got this spur in their shoe because the scenes, it's like today, the Hebrew roots, it's kind of a thorn in their side. But really, and they're picking up people every once in a while, but really, how much does it really matter? But the one thing about the Qumran sect and the Dead Sea Scrolls that we do know is this. The language that they use was the same language that was being used in the first century. So when we see Mahaseh HaTorah, the commands of Torah, we see this used in the Dead Sea Scrolls. We can also look in the Gospels and find the same phrasing and understand that they're probably talking about the same thing. In other words, the debates were the same. Just like today, when someone in the evangelical circle says, I believe in the Trinity, that is that the person of God is one, but reveals himself in three personages. When a person in the Hebrew roots movement might say, and please understand, I understand that the Hebrew roots movement is completely split on this. But if somebody says I'm part of the Hebrew roots and they say I don't believe in the Trinity, they're having the same conversation, right? And so in 2,000 years, when someone looks back and looks at maybe someone who's writing in the Hebrew roots movement who says I don't believe in the Trinity and this is why, it still informs that person of the conversations that were going on today. And so this is where the real benefit, in my mind, of the Qumran scrolls come from. Even though the sect might have been kind of fringe and kind of isolated and not really mainstream, what it does do is show us the conversations that were going on and informs us about those conversations in the first century. Do you have anything to add to that, Rob?
No, I think that's well put. It's background, right? Think of a picture. When you look at a picture, right, the Mona Lisa, you see the what's in the foreground is the person, and then you see the background, right? So historically, we just have a lot of background that we're not going to. It's not canon, but it's background, right?
Sure.
It's like so the library at Qumran, or other extra biblical texts from the Second Temple period, rabbinic literature, early church literature as we go through time.
Yeah.
The works of the Masorah in terms of the Hebrew text of the Tanakh. All these things are background for us. It's not canonical, but being wise and bringing good, sound method to our reading of what is the foreground, what is canon, it's good to see that context, to understand it. And that's part of growing in understanding, especially when we're trying to be very, very clear in our understanding of what the Word of God means and what it doesn't mean.
Do you like biblical apologetics? Well, if you do, you should probably subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking this round thing right here. And if you like that clip, you can also find the full episode by clicking this square thing over here. You should do it.